Before we begin, this story involves the disappearance of 3 children. It discusses predatory grooming and abduction. The focus is on what was known, what was missed, and what was never resolved. If that's something you need to step away from, we understand. Take care of yourself first. 9-year-old Jane B. Ochmont walks into Wenzel's Bakery on Mosley Street and puts a £1 note on the counter. She orders a meat pie. The shopkeeper knows this girl. She's been coming in for years. But Jane has never ordered a meat pie before, and her mother gave her 6 shillings and sixpence that morning. Not a pound note. Somebody else gave her that money. You're listening to the Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Today, 3 children take the bus to the beach on a summer holiday. Hundreds of people see them, none of them come home. 60 years later, Australia is still looking. Glen Elg Beach, Adelaide, South Australia. January 26, 1966, Australia Day. A heatwave has settled over the city and the beach is packed. Families everywhere, towels and umbrellas and the smell of sunscreen and salt. The Ochmont family lives 3 kilometres inland, in Somerton Park. Jim Beaumont, the father, is a former serviceman turned taxi driver. He's left the day before on a 3-day sales trip to Snowtown. His wife Nancy is home with the 3 children, Jane, 9, Ayana, 7, Grant, 4. At 8:45 that morning, the 3 children board a bus at Somerton Park for the 5-minute ride to Glen Elg Beach. They're in their swimwear. They've done this before. It's a routine trip, short enough that Nancy doesn't worry. She gives them bus fare and 6 shillings and sixpence for lunch. The beach is crowded. Australia Day, school holidays, blazing heat. Hundreds of families spread out across the sand. At Collie Reserve, just off the beach, multiple witnesses notice the 3 Ochmont children. They're playing, laughing, running around. They aren't alone. A man is with them, tall, fair or light brown hair, thin face, suntanned, athletic build, mid-30s, wearing swim trunks. Witnesses describe the children as relaxed and confident with him, enjoying themselves. This is strange because Jane's parents describe her as painfully shy. She doesn't warm up to strangers. She doesn't laugh with people she doesn't know. But here she is, playing freely with this man as if she's known him for weeks. Around 11:45, Jane walks into Wenzel's Bakery and buys meat pies and pasties for the group, paying with a £1 note. The shopkeeper remembers this. The children had never bought a meat pie before. And a £1 note is far more than lunch money. Someone gave Jane that money. By 12:15, witnesses see the children and the man walking away from the beach together. At 2:45, a woman named Daphne Gregory spots them farther from the beach. The man is carrying an airline bag that looks like Jane's. Then, nothing. Glen Elg is a palindrome. Spell it forward, spell it backward, you get the same word. It's a detail that means nothing and somehow means everything. A place that reads the same both ways, where nothing about this story has ever resolved in any direction. Micro cliffhanger 1. At noon, the children don't step off the bus. At 2 o'clock, they don't step off the bus. Nancy Beaumont stands at the stop and watches it pull away. Empty. Jim B. Ochmont comes home early from his sales trip. He drives straight to the beach. The crowds are thinning. The sun is still brutal. He walks the sand, checks the reserve, scans the water. No Jane, no Ayana, no Grant. At 5:30 that evening, the parents walk into the Glen Elg police station and report their 3 children missing. The largest search in South Australian history begins. Police comb the beach, the streets, the reserves. They drain the Patawa Longar boat haven, a waterway near Glen Elg, and find nothing. Hundreds of officers, volunteers, door-to-door searches across the suburb. The Adelaide Sunday Mail runs a headline 3 days later. Sex crime now feared. Australia pays attention. This isn't a runaway teenager or a custody dispute. 3 children, ages 4, 7 and 9, vanished from a crowded public beach on a national holiday, in broad daylight, surrounded by hundreds of witnesses, and no one stopped it. A composite sketch of the man circulates nationally. Tall, fair-haired, thin face, mid-30s. Thousands of tips come in, none of them lead anywhere. In November of that year, the South Australian government brings in Gerard Kroiset, a Dutch psychic. He identifies a warehouse site in Adelaide where the children are supposedly buried. $40,000 is raised to demolish the building. They dig. They find nothing. It's worth pausing on that number, $40,000 in 1966, raised by a public so desperate for answers that they funded the demolition of a building on the word of a psychic from another continent. That's not gullibility. That's grief with nowhere to go. Micro cliffhanger 2. 2 years pass, 2 years of silence, dead ends, and a family that has stopped going to the beach. And then a letter arrives. Round 1968, 2 letters arrive. One is written as if from Jane, the other is from someone who calls himself the man. He claims to be caring for the children. He offers to return them. Police arrange a meeting at the designated location. The Beaumonts drive there. A detective follows at a distance, but the detective is spotted. No one appears. A third letter comes. It says the family broke their trust. The tone is accusatory, as if the Beaumonts had done something wrong by involving police, as if a kidnapper deserved loyalty. All 3 letters are postmarked Dandenong, Victoria, 500 miles from Adelaide. Handwriting experts compare Jane's school samples to the letter supposedly written by her. The assessment, quite likely a match. Then permanent silence. No more letters, no more contact, no resolution. Just decades of nothing. Not everyone reads the evidence the same way. The mainstream investigation, backed by South Australian police, treats this as a predatory stranger abduction. A man who groomed the children across multiple beach visits, built their trust, then took them. The witnesses, the money, Jane's unusual confidence, all consistent with someone who'd been cultivating a relationship. Others have drawn a line to the Adelaide Oval abductions of 1973, when 2 girls were taken from a crowded sporting event in the same city. The similarity in method, children taken from public places in broad daylight, led investigators to ask whether the same person was responsible. But 7 years separate the cases. The victim profiles differ. No forensic link was ever established. And then there are the letters. In 1968, police believed them. The handwriting was close enough to Jane's to take seriously. But a forensic re-examination in 1992 concluded the letters were likely a hoax, which means either a kidnapper made contact and was scared off, or someone exploited a family's grief for reasons nobody has ever explained. Both readings of the evidence account for the facts. Neither has ever been proven. Here's the detail that changes everything. Weeks before January 26th, weeks before Australia Day, before the beach, before the man, before the disappearance, 7-year-old A.R. Nah said something to her mother. She said Jane had got a boyfriend down the beach. Nancy thought she meant a playmate. A boy from school, maybe. She didn't ask follow-up questions. Why would she? Her daughter was 7. Boyfriend was just a word kids used. But if A.R. Nah was right, if Jane had been meeting this man before, then January 26th wasn't the first time. It was the last time. Every routine trip to Glen Elg may have included him. Every time Nancy handed her children bus fare and waved them off, she may have been sending them back to the person who was grooming them. The Beaumonts lived with that knowledge for decades. In 2018, the South Australian government posted a $1 million reward for information. As of today, it remains unclaimed. The beach is still there. Collie Reserve is still there. Wenzel's Bakery closed years ago, but the street hasn't changed much. 60 years later, Glen Elg looks more or less the same, which is the cruelest part, because everything else is different. 3 children took a 5-minute bus ride on a hot summer morning and never came home. Their mother spent the rest of her life knowing she'd let them go. Their father spent his knowing he wasn't there. And somewhere, someone knows what happened, and has kept quiet for 6 decades. The B.O.H. Mont case didn't just go cold. It froze an entire country's assumption that public spaces were safe for children. Before January 26, 1966, Australian parents sent their kids to the beach alone. After it, they didn't. Jane A.R. Nah and Grant B.H. Mont are still missing. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. Follow the Unlit Room wherever you listen. Tell a friend, but maybe don't tell them it's all real until after they've finished. Full story on the main channel. Follow if you're wide awake. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.